The air in the interrogation room was still, a stark contrast to the storm of questions that had been brewing for months. In this quiet space, under the flat, unforgiving light, a story began to unravel. It was not a tearful admission or a burst of panicked rage, but a calm, almost detached recounting of events that would shock a nation. This was the moment the truth about what happened on a secluded Oregon farm started to emerge from the woman at the center of it all, Susan Monica. Her voice was steady, her demeanor composed, as she spoke of life and death, of men who had come to her property and never left. The confession, when it came, was not a single dramatic declaration, but a slow, chilling assembly of facts that painted a picture far more disturbing than anyone had initially imagined. This was not a story from a sprawling metropolis, but from the heart of rural Oregon, near the small community of Wimer. Here, among the rolling hills and dense forests, Susan Monica owned a 20-acre farm. The farm, intended to be a sanctuary, had become a crime scene, a final, lonely resting place for those who had trusted the woman who owned it. Well, to understand the crimes, one must first attempt to understand the woman who committed them. Susan Monica was a figure of many parts, a person whose life story was a collection of seemingly disparate chapters. Born Stephen Buchanan in California in 1948, her early life and identity were far different from the person she would become. Her history was not one of overt instability or a long public criminal record. Instead, it was a life marked by significant personal transformations and professional transformations. These biographical details, while not an excuse for her later actions, provide a complex backdrop to the events that unfolded on her Oregon farm. They paint a picture of an individual who navigated profound changes long before she became a notorious killer. You know, it's strange. Susan Monica's path to becoming a farmer in Wimer, Oregon was anything but direct. It was a journey that began decades earlier and crossed continents. Born in 1948, she came of age during a turbulent time in American history. Her service in the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War placed her in the crucible of conflict. Upon receiving an honorable discharge, she returned to civilian life, but the person who came back was not the same. She carried with her the discipline of the military and the experiences of war. After leaving the Navy, she embarked on a career that showcased her intelligence and technical abilities. As a highly competent engineer, she worked with precision and complex systems. That success gave her the means to pursue self-sufficiency. She wanted land, a place to call her own. In 1991, she bought a 20-acre farm in southern Oregon. It was a deliberate move away from the military and corporate engineering toward solitary independence. On that land, she built a new identity. The peace of the rural community was first disturbed in 2012 with the quiet disappearance of a man. He was a handyman who had found work on Susan Monica's farm, performing various tasks in exchange for pay or a place to stay. One day, he was simply gone. In a transient population, his absence did not immediately trigger a massive alarm. Friends and family grew worried over time, but without a clear starting point, the trail quickly went cold. A year later, in 2013, another handyman vanished. His connection to the same farm was a chilling coincidence that would later become a crucial piece of the investigative puzzle. The disappearances cast a long, though initially faint, shadow over the Wimer property. Well, the breakthrough in the case came not from a murder tip, but from an investigation into a far more mundane crime: identity theft, the fraudulent use of a missing man's food stamp card. When detectives began looking into the suspicious activity, the trail led them directly to Susan Monica. This financial crime provided the legal justification to obtain a search warrant and step onto the 20-acre property prepared to question Monica and search for evidence of fraud. They had no idea they were about to uncover something infinitely more sinister. During their interrogation, Monica's story began to shift and crumble under the pressure of detailed questioning. As her accounts faltered, the search of her property was yielding horrifying results. Investigators discovered partial human remains. These were not intact bodies, but dismembered fragments, a discovery that confirmed their worst fears. The remains of the two men were found on the property. The animals, unwitting participants in their owner's monstrous acts, were a final, chilling link to the crimes she had committed. With the evidence gathered and Susan Monica in custody, the case moved toward a trial that would captivate and horrify the public. The legal proceedings began in April 2015 at the Jackson County Courthouse. Over the course of 6 days, the prosecution laid out its case, a chilling story of deception, murder, disposal. They detailed the disappearances of the 2 handymen, the financial fraud that led investigators to Monica's door, and the gruesome discovery of human remains on her farm. Throughout the trial, Susan Monica's defense attempted to create doubt. However, her stories were inconsistent and failed to align with the physical evidence. After 6 intense days of testimony and legal arguments, the case was handed over to the jury. In a stunning display of certainty, they returned with a verdict after only 1 hour of deliberation. On April 21, 2015, Susan Monica was found guilty on all counts, including 2 counts of murder, identity theft, and abuse of a corpse. Following the rapid guilty verdict, the final act of the legal drama unfolded during the sentencing hearing. As Susan Monica stood before the court, she faced Judge Timothy Barnack. The judge did not mince words. "I don't know how else I can put it. You valued pigs more than you value people. It may sound harsh, but you are a cold-blooded killer." He sentenced Susan Monica to 2 consecutive 25-year sentences, resulting in a total of 50 years to serve in prison. She is currently incarcerated at the Coffee Creek Correctional Facility, Oregon's only state prison for women. The judge's harsh words and the lengthy sentence served as a final, emphatic declaration from the justice system. Her brutal actions would not be tolerated or forgotten. The grotesque nature of Susan Monica's crimes ensured her story would not fade after the trial. It was covered by television series like Snapped on the Oxygen Network, bringing the grim tale to a national audience. This fascination crossed into narrative filmmaking. In 2023, director Adam Ray Fair released Pig Lady, an independent horror film inspired by the Monica case. Filmmakers shot Pig Lady on property adjacent to Susan Monica's actual farm, a dedication to authenticity. Director Adam Ray Fair said, "You start talking to people. Everyone gets enthused. Everyone knew her. Everyone had a story about her." Released on demand, the film introduced the story to a new audience. Some saw the film as exploitation, others as a way to process and remember the town's dark chapter. Today, more than a decade after her crimes were brought to light, the town of Wimer and the surrounding Jackson County area still live with the legacy of Susan Monica. The story is woven into the local history, a dark tale that neighbors tell to newcomers, and a memory that surfaces whenever a car slows down near the infamous 20-acre property. How could this have happened here? How could a person they saw and sometimes interacted with be capable of such monstrous acts? The farm itself stands as a quiet, physical reminder of the tragedy. For the families of the 2 men she murdered, the passage of time does not erase the pain. The legal justice provided a conclusion, but not closure. Their loved ones are remembered as fathers, brothers, sons whose lives were stolen. The legal system delivered its verdict, and a killer is now serving a life sentence, but the impact of her deeds ripples outward, touching the lives of families, neighbors, and entire community. The land on that quiet Oregon road will forever hold the memory of what happened there, proof that justice can be served, even if the hard truth can never be fully erased.